Question number 2. Do you support the law-abiding people of Calcasieu Parish's constitutional right to purchase and own modern sporting rifles, which includes AR-15s? If no, explain in detail. Okay, I'm going to go with Mr. Jimmy Richard's first because that's the one that I will probably spend the most time on. Jimmy Richard does not. He says, he does not think we should have AR-15s. Jimmy Richard says, and I quote, "I support sporting rifles with the exception of the AR-15 because it was specifically designed for war and to effectively kill many human beings in a short span of time. In the wrong hands, as we constantly see in the news, this weapon can cause a tremendous amount of damage and the pros do not outweigh the cons of ownership." Well, I'm glad that Mr. Richard has zero impact on what I can or can't purchase, because not only is he factually incorrect about a lot of what he states here, most of what he states is simply an opinion. I'm not looking for your opinion, okay? I'm looking for what you truly believe in terms of the law, because the Calcasieu Parish Sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer in this entire area. So I don't care what your feelings are. I want to know how you would enforce the law. And the law of the land is actually the Constitution. Let me point out some inaccuracies. First of all, you said that the AR-15 was specifically designed for war and to effectively kill as many human beings in a short span of time. Let me just say this. Here's a little bit of a spoiler alert. Every gun is designed to kill. Show me a gun designed to scare somebody away, frighten someone off. Show me a gun that is designed to only partially harm somebody so that I can safely get away. Show me a gun designed from the ground up with any particular caliber that was designed just to scare people off and just to lightly harm somebody so that I can escape the attack that they're putting on me. Show me one. You can't do it. There's no such thing. So again, a lot of his answer is opinion. The next answer, again, this is the question was, do you think that people have the right in the Calcasieu Parish to own modern sporting rifles, which includes an AR-15? And the next person answering is Tony Mancuso, again, the incumbent sheriff. He says, yes, he thinks that people ought to have the right. He does not elaborate. I didn't ask him to. He just says yes. Elizabeth Gray Carrier's answer to that question was that yes, she does believe that people ought to have the right to purchase and own an AR-15 in Calcasieu Parish. But she still elaborates, even though I didn't ask her to. This is where the yes that she provided seems more like a maybe than a yes. She says, my father and brothers were sportsmen. Okay. I mean, my ancestors might have been Vikings. I don't know what that means and what it's supposed to mean. I'm not voting for your father or your brothers. You're the one running, okay? I can't think of any animal that you'd need an AR-15 to kill unless you're a bad shot and a charging wild hog is coming full speed towards you. First of all, if you're implying that the Second Amendment was intended for free persons, free law-abiding people like me to have the ability and the freedom to hunt, and you want to be the chief law enforcement officer in Calcasieu Parish, time to brush up on your civics. That's not what the Second Amendment is about. The Second Amendment has actually zero to do with hunting. Zero. Absolutely nothing. So you saying that you don't understand what kind of animal I would need to use an AR-15 to shoot doesn't have any bearing on this question, because it has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was not designed to hunt. It was designed to protect us from tyranny and to allow us to arm ourselves to protect us from other people that might seek to do them harm. Okay, some people choose to hunt to provide for themselves and put food on their table, and hundreds of thousands, possibly even millions of people use AR-15s every single day to hunt wild game and to feed their families with it. So just because it's a gun that you're scared of and that you feel like is not something that you can manage and handle in order to go hunting with, doesn't mean that for some reason other people shouldn't have it. If I'm not comfortable driving a car with 700 horsepower, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be allowed to have one. And again, I know this is only your opinion, that you are just confused as to why some people, 15 million people, there's 15 million AR-15s out there, as to why 15 million Americans have chosen to have AR-15s. I get it that that's over your head. Sometimes things are just beyond us, and this is one of those things. But when you're running for sheriff, this is probably not the kind of thing that you want to send to a guy like me when I'm asking you a Second Amendment question, because it doesn't apply. I don't care what you want or don't want to hunt with. It's not applicable right here. She goes on to say that, which I don't even understand the wild hog comment. You are a perfect example as to why I would want a gun. If a wild hog is charging at me, like you state, I want to have that AR-15, and lots of people hunt wild hogs. You claim that most animals it would tear up. Okay. If somebody is hunting an animal, they want it to die. So if it is torn up, that's fine. Now, if you mean tear up beyond being able to salvage and harvest the meat, if your father and your brothers were true hunters, not just sportsmen, you need to ask them. Because for one thing, the AR-15 is a gun. It's not a bullet. If you're referring to a particular caliber, there is no caliber other than maybe a 50 caliber that would totally destroy something the size of an animal that we would normally hunt, and most people do, with an AR-15. So kind of got to correct you on that one. And here is just, you mentioned also that they were designed for warfare. Every gun was designed for warfare. No gun was designed to simply scare people. Every gun is designed to keep the peace. And by keeping the peace, you have to flex your muscles, and you have to kill the enemy, or you have to defeat the enemy somehow. And if that means intimidating them or shooting them, that's how you win wars. And then this next statement from Elizabeth Gray Carrier is just, look guys, this is either just an ignorant statement of somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about, or it's a lie. Because the comment was made that the manufacturer has stopped making them, referring to AR-15s. The manufacturer stopped making them, said there was enough on the streets of the world. That's not true. That's not true. That is 100% incorrect. Absolutely not true. She's referring to Colt. Colt Manufacturing, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, had leaked out that they weren't going to make AR-15s for the civilian market anymore. They did not give a reason at the time when it leaked. Last week, Colt gave their reason. It's not this reason, by the way. It's not because they said there was enough on the streets of the world. Those words absolutely in no way, not even in a taken out of context way, ever left the lips of a Colt employee or representative. It's never been said. What they said was, there are so many AR-15 manufacturers already making AR-15s that they felt like there were enough. There's 15 million of them out there. That it's still the #1 selling rifle. It's the most popular rifle in America. There are hundreds of companies. You mentioned that the manufacturer has stopped making them. That's not true. There are hundreds of other manufacturers. Colt is one. Colt had such a tiny share of the AR-15 market that Colt felt like they needed to focus more on their handguns, their semi-automatic handguns, which kills way more people than AR-15s, by the way, way more. But they decided they would focus on their semi-automatic handgun market instead of the AR-15s because they were getting their tails kicked in the retail market. So they said, plus, by the way, they also got a $41 million overseas contract to make AR-15s for other countries. So they're actually not going. You mentioned too many in the world. They're making $41 million worth of them in the rest of the world. So apparently they don't see anything wrong with providing the rest of the world. This statement of there being too many on the streets of the world is absolutely not true, because that's what they're making them for. They actually don't have time to make AR-15s for the civilians in the U.S. market, because they're so inundated with business overseas, with the millions of dollars that they're making overseas. So that's why they're not doing it. For those of you that don't know the fact, I don't want you to read this statement that Colt, the manufacturer, has stopped making them because they said there were too many on the streets of the world. It's absolutely not true. They're making them still for the rest of the world. They're just not making them for the civilian market. And they even said that if the market got to the point where Colt could make more profits and start making money again selling their AR-15s, which are kind of overpriced and they're same quality as everybody else's for the most part, so they don't really shine above everybody. But they still said if they saw where it would be a profitable decision for their company to make, they would just start making them again. So Colt did not stand on a hill and fall on their own sword and somehow say, too many AR-15s in the world, we're not going to make any more. That's not what happened. That's absolutely not what happened. So I don't want you guys to see this, because I do want to share all the information that came to me from these people, from these candidates, but I want you to see that this information, just because somebody says it, it is not true. Everything I'm telling you, Google it. If you type in Colt and AR-15, the news is going to pop up and it will confirm what I said, and it will actually disqualify what Elizabeth Gray Carrier said. So, and then she goes on to say, because she's really dipping her toe into the politician market here. She goes on to say, after saying all those ugly things about an AR-15, I'm not against them. I'm not against them. I've shot them. I still think they're more for killing humans. Well, you know, that's your opinion. And again, every single gun ever manufactured was made for killing, not just the AR-15. She says, I have lots of long guns and handguns. I'm very proud of you. That's awesome.